All right, so I really appreciate you being on here this evening, and we're covering what I call Cancer Nutrition 101. And the reason I actually scheduled this webinar is for a program that I'm doing through our office at Cancer Services here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I have an 8-week program called Mindful Eating, or Eating with Body and Mind, where we bring in a dietitian who's an expert in intuitive eating and mindful eating to do an 8-week program. And it's important for us that all of our attendees actually have kind of the basics on nutrition and cancer before they get started in the series. Otherwise, they tend to get sort of distracted with some of the cancer nutrition questions. So this is actually required, we'll say, coursework for people participating in the program. But then I also decided to just open it up to anybody who might be on kind of following on social media. So our topic, Cancer Nutrition 101. And let's see if I can figure out how to work our slides here. Here we go. So about myself, if you're not familiar with me, my name's Julie Lanford. I call myself the Cancer Dietitian because I author cancerdietitian.com. We're coming up on almost 10 years for the website, which seems crazy, but I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm a board certified specialist in oncology nutrition, and that just means that oncology is my specialty. And I get a lot of questions. I tend to really focus my programming through the office that I work at, a nonprofit here in Winston-Salem, but also through our website and online. The programming is really focused on cancer survivors. But the information is very much applicable to anybody who's interested in knowing more about nutrition and cancer, reducing risk, living healthy after a diagnosis, maybe as a caregiver. And so I like to say, just because someone knows how to eat doesn't make them an expert in nutrition. Everybody seems to think that they have an opinion on nutrition and cancer, especially they like to give advice. But I would encourage you to really pay attention to who is giving the advice and do they have training. So dietitians actually have 4-year degrees in nutrition, whereas a lot of other healthcare providers, they maybe get a class in nutrition, but especially for us in oncology nutrition, we think it's really important that you get the facts and then you can help to make a decision on your own. So that's my background. I also have a master's in public health. And I work for a nonprofit, and we're not affiliated with any treatment centers, but we very closely work with 2 specifically in our area, and so we support them with our programming. All right, so our goals for this session tonight is to understand the role of nutrition during and after cancer treatment. I will cover 5 of what I consider the most common cancer nutrition myths. We'll cover the 7 truths. These are evidence-based nutrition guidelines that I'm calling truths regarding nutrition and cancer. And we'll discuss some practical steps you can take to optimize your nutrition. So again, this information, while geared towards cancer survivors, is definitely appropriate for anybody. And I'm happy to take Q&A. So feel free to, ask questions as we go along for those that are on the live version anyway. If you are watching this and recording, you, of course, can email me, which is just julie@cancerdietitian.com. So as we get started, Nutrition and Cancer 101, I like to make sure that we all understand nutrition is not a guarantee. It's part of putting the odds in your favor. So, I know many people who have done what I would quote as everything right, and still face a cancer diagnosis. And it's certainly not fair. It doesn't make sense. And we also know people who've done everything wrong and they don't face a diagnosis. And so when it comes to nutrition and lifestyle, it's not that if you check off all these things that we talk about and do them, it's a guarantee, but it will put the odds in your favor. And honestly, it's going to make you feel better. You're going to have better quality of life because you have more energy, and your healthy cells are able to stay as healthy as possible. Even after a cell begins to accumulate damage that may lead to cancer, what we eat and how we live can still help short circuit the cancer process. So while it's not a cancer cure, you can't eat anything or have a certain diet that's going to cure cancer. Certain foods can help your body to essentially maintain a strong immune system. And mostly it's kind of a pattern of eating that we see can help support immunity. And even after cancer has developed, several nutrients have been shown to either delay progression in order to give the body more time to defend itself, or to be able to really support those other cells in the body to promote healing. So it really works in partnership with treatments. All right, so during treatment, our goals are to meet calorie, protein, and nutrient needs because we want to preserve muscle mass. We want people to keep to their treatment protocols because when you miss treatments, it results in poorer outcomes. We know that nutrition can improve quality of life and improve outcomes. But for a lot of the clients that I work with, they may be in treatment, but they're not really having nutrition-related side effects. They're able to eat. And then a lot of my clients are actually post-treatment and wanting to know what they should eat in order to maintain good health and reduce the risk of their cancer either spreading or coming back. So most of what we're going to talk about this evening is going to be that piece of healthy eating, specifically for people facing cancer. So there are some tips and things that I'm happy to answer in terms of during treatment, but we're really kind of going to be focusing on that healthy eating piece. All right, so I'm going to do the myths first because when I do classes and I ask them, well, do you want me to cover the myths first or you want to do the truths first? Everybody always wants to bust myths first. So these are in the order that I actually get asked. So now going on 10 years with the website, this is the number one thing that people either ask me in person or email me or comment on my social media pages. The first is the myth that sugar feeds cancer. So I say the fact actually to this is that all our cells, cancerous or not, use glucose for energy, and our body doesn't pick and choose which cells get what fuel. So it's not that if you eat, a brownie, it's going to take that sugar and beeline it to a cancer cell, and all of a sudden the cancer is going to grow. It doesn't work that way in our bodies. And glucose is the building block of carbohydrates. And so what happens, whether it's candy, like in the picture here, we have candy corn, we have oranges. There's obviously differences in quality of what's going to provide our bodies with glucose. But the bottom line is that I say it's an oversimplification to claim that sugar feeds cancer because all our cells run on glucose for energy. If we didn't have that glucose or that basic building block of sugar, we wouldn't be able to function very well. So I call it not true. All right, myth number 2, acidic diets cause cancer. The fact is that there's no good evidence to prove that diet can manipulate your whole body pH or that it has an impact on cancer. Actually, if you could alter the pH of your blood very much, you probably wouldn't want to because our bodies wouldn't survive a change in blood pH. Now, I will say that when you look at this list, when people claim, oh, you should eat an alkaline diet, they usually, actually, when I've looked this up, and I've written on it before, but when I've looked it up to try to figure out, well, what are the foods they're actually recommending? Every book and every person seems to have a kind of a different list. But in general, this sort of shows what they recommend. I can't argue with recommending that you eat more asparagus or more melons or almonds or avocados that are on sort of the alkaline side. And I wouldn't argue that you should eat less sodas and less white bread and sugar. So, the implementation of what they're recommending, sort of the foods that they recommend are perfectly healthy. It's just what they claim in terms of how the diet affects your body is not true. So you can't manipulate your whole body pH with the foods you eat. However, the foods that you eat can definitely nourish and support your body. Myth number 3, people with hormone-positive cancers should avoid soy and flax. So it was based on some theories around the phytoestrogens that are found in soy. But when we've actually looked at population studies, it shows that eating soy in moderate amounts, which should be considered of 1 to 2 standard servings a day, does not increase a woman's risk for recurrence or death and does not show harmful interaction with anti-estrogen medications, which is usually what people are asking me about. And in fact, we actually have some great strong studies done on breast cancer survivors comparing those who eat soy to those who don't. And we might even find a possible beneficial a benefit to the people who are consuming soy foods. So what I tell, especially the hormone positive cancer survivors who are concerned about soy, is that I would be perfectly comfortable consuming it. I'm comfortable recommending it to my clients. However, if it makes you really nervous or anxious, you certainly do not have to eat you don't have to eat soy in order to have a healthy diet, but it is not true that you have to avoid them. Myth number 4, pesticides cause cancer, so you have to eat organic. The truth is that no studies have shown that people who consume organic foods have better health outcomes. So, most of us maybe would say, well, I want to reduce my pesticide exposure if possible. And, if the price is the same, maybe I would choose organic. But the truth is that organic is not proven scientifically to be healthier. It might be better for the environment. I don't know. That's not my area of practice. But when it comes to health, I always encourage people to eat fruits and vegetables. And to me, if you want to choose organic, that's fine, but you certainly don't have to. And I would far prefer that you consume plenty of fruits and vegetables. Doesn't matter whether they're organic or not. And the same thing I would say with GMO foods. If you're concerned about GMOs, you can eat organic. And the organic label pretty much means that it will not be a genetically modified food. But consuming GMO foods is not a concern of mine with my clients. Myth number 5, superfoods prevent cancer. So the fact is that there's no such thing as a superfood. That was a marketing term developed by people selling products. It doesn't have any scientific basis. So if somebody claims it's a superfood, okay, that pretty much means nothing. And of course, it's a gross oversimplification to say that any one food on its own could have a major influence over your chance of developing cancer. So while, I've picked some pictures for this slide that highlight some of the superfoods people will claim, which is blueberries or acai or pomegranate, depending on the year, they tend to kind of change up. But certainly pomegranates are good for you and blueberries are good for you, but they're not any kind of superfood. I want you to eat them, but it's not going to majorly influence your health. And then for those who have faced a diagnosis, after treatment is over, we know that survivors should follow the recommendations for cancer risk reduction. So if you're not having any trouble with nutrition-related side effects, for those of you who are in treatment, this is the perfect time to focus on maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And actually, the first bullet point on this slide, talking about survivors should follow the recommendation for cancer risk reduction, is an evidence-based recommendation from the American Institute for Cancer Research. And for them to put out recommendations, they have to have convincing evidence. And they've looked over every study that's ever been done on nutrition and cancer. And they rank that evidence. And so there's very strong evidence showing that survivors really should follow the same recommendations for cancer risk reduction, which is kind of handy because that means, what we're telling the general public to eat in terms of health and wellness is the same things that we want cancer survivors to be doing after their diagnosis. The challenge is if you are facing any kind of difficulties from your treatments, or the fact that, the typical American doesn't actually eat the way that we would want them to. Of course, so it's always difficult, whether you're facing cancer or not, to try to make sure that you're getting those healthy foods. So what are the truths? And these are, again, evidence-based recommendations. They are from the American Institute for Cancer Research, which means that they are the strongest. The studies show these are the most important things that we can do. And it's actually estimated that 30 to 40% of cancers could be reduced if people ate healthy following these recommendations, if they are physically active on a regular basis, and if they maintain a healthy weight. And so I think it's important that we all know what are these key recommendations for cancer risk reduction that we want survivors to be following. So this is truth number 1. I've put them in the order that I prefer. Eat more of a variety of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes such as beans. Because plant foods have important nutrients called phytochemicals, which is the basis for a cancer-fighting diet, they neutralize damage to cells and support your immune system. And the only place that you can get these phytochemicals are through vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and essentially it's plant foods. So you've got to eat them to get those phytochemicals in. Truth number 2, avoid sugary drinks and limit consumption of energy-dense foods. So we talked about the myth that sugar feeds cancer. It's not completely true. However, it's, I think common sense to know that regularly consuming sugary drinks contributes to weight gain. And that does increase risk for cancer. Water is your best alternative, but also unsweetened tea and coffee are great healthy options for beverages. And if you want to do something like, I call it, infusion water, where you put cucumbers in your water or lemons in your water, those are great ways to also get a little bit of flavor in your water, but without overloading on the added sugars. Truth number 3, and this is something I did this session in a class version, a real live class version today at 11 a.m. And so I had people in the class tell me, well, what's one question you would have that you want to make sure I answer before you leave? And they asked about red meats. That was one of them. Soy foods didn't actually make the list, but sugar made the list. So when it comes to consumption of red meats, and beef, pork, and lamb do count as red meats. So pork is not the other white meat. That's just a marketing term. We say limit consumption, which means 18 ounces a week or less of red meat. And then avoid processed meats, because we know that the preservatives that are added to processed meats tend to increase risk for colon cancer. And that's the same risk concern that we have for red meat. So 18 ounces, I think, is actually pretty generous. A lot of people I know probably don't eat that much red meat. But the reason is that experts found convincing evidence that red meat's a cause of colorectal cancer. Now it's an increase in risk. So sometimes it's hard to tease out exactly how much. But anyway, choosing processed meats also increases chances of colorectal cancer. So we want you to choose kind of fresh meats if you consume meat at all. Truth number 4, if consumed at all, limit alcoholic drinks to 2 a day for men, 1 a day for women. You can't save those up and have them all on the weekend because there's convincing evidence that alcohol itself increases risk of cancers, basically of the head and neck, as well as colorectal cancer in men, and probably also colorectal cancer in women, as well as liver cancer. So if you're not somebody who drinks alcohol, we don't recommend that you start drinking it. If you do enjoy a drink here and there, we wouldn't recommend that you exceed 2 a day if you're a man, or 1 a day if you're a woman. All right, truth number 5, limit consumption of salty foods and foods processed with sodium. Expert report on this one found that salt and salt preserved foods, so you think about something that's pickled, if it's preserved with salt, then that's something you want to kind of pay attention to. But it can increase the chances of developing stomach cancer. And we also know that high salt intake can damage the lining of the stomach, and it's just generally not good for your overall health to consume too much salt. Truth number 6. Now, this is another one of my favorites. The recommendation based on science, on studies for people who use or don't use supplements, is that you should not use supplements for the purposes of protecting against cancer. Because what we see when we look at these studies, when we find out, study people who consume a lot of supplements or pill versions of nutrients is what I call it, they do not have better health outcomes. So what we want is for you to actually get your nutrients from food itself. So the reason that they gave this recommendation after reviewing every study that's been done on supplements and cancer is that we need you to choose a balanced diet that offers you a variety of foods rather than taking supplements. Now, if you eat a balanced diet and you want to take a multivitamin, or you feel like you need a vitamin D supplement, or you want to try out some supplement for like a month and see if it helps you, that's one thing. But you can't expect to take a supplement as a replacement or to make up for an unhealthy diet. So this is my talking point is: your body prefers nutrients in food, not pills. If you made a pill out of every nutrient that you could find in a blueberry, the pill would look like a blueberry. So really, you want all the parts of the blueberry that's good for you. You want all the parts of the carrot that's good for you. You don't want to just pick out one part of it and consume that in pill form. Truth number 7, be physically active for at least 30 minutes every day and limit sedentary habits. So our bodies function best when we're using them. We need physical activity. And it's really been proven to reduce cancer-related fatigue. It improves our mood, helps us keep our metabolism at a healthy level. It maintains good heart health. It really can help with so many different things. And you don't have to do it all at once. I think that's important too. So if we're aiming for 30 minutes a day, I say you can do 150 minutes a week. So you could spread those out over every day, or you could spread it out over 4 or 5 days. The other thing that you can do with the physical activity is maybe you do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, and 10 minutes at night, and they do add up. So when it comes to healthy eating, the way that I sort of approach nutrition is from the positive aspect. And so I want people to really feel like when you sit down to eat, you are choosing foods based on how they can nourish your body. And so you want to see it as an opportunity to promote your health. You think about all those phytochemicals that your body needs to function at its best, and the only way you can get it is by eating those plant foods. So instead of thinking about nutrition and eating from a negative standpoint in terms of what you can't have or what you're not supposed to have or what's bad for you, I find it more helpful to focus on those positive things. How can you choose things that do promote your health? And so I mentioned phytochemicals before, but that's really where I focus a lot of my energy with my clients. If they do food records, I really key in on, well, are they consuming enough plant foods? Are they having the right amount of fruits and vegetables throughout their day? Because we want them to get lots of phytochemicals, enough phytochemicals for their body to use what it needs. And phytochemicals are biologically active components of plants. When we eat that plant, the phytochemical helps our immune system promote health. So you think about how tomatoes grow. They have a little thicker skin than on the inside. The skin protects them from bugs. It protects them from bad weather. And when we eat that skin, then it helps our bodies. And so all parts of those plants that are edible really can help our bodies promote health. And that's just how our bodies are designed to work. So when it comes to phytochemicals, the color matters. I don't mean colors like the red in Kool-Aid. I mean the actual red in the fruits and the vegetables that you might eat. So getting a variety of colors will get you a variety of phytochemicals. There's over 1,000 different phytochemicals identified so far. So you don't need to know all the different phytochemicals. You just need to know where they come from and how to get a variety. So getting different colors will help you get a variety. They are found best and utilized by your body best when you eat it in food, not pills. And the more phytochemicals you can get every day, the better. So this is what I call our phytochemical meter. Your meter starts at 0 when you wake up in the morning. And then every time you eat or drink something that contains those plant nutrients that are good for you, it starts to add up your phytochemical meter. So this slide, usually I'm able to kind of show you a little bit at a time how it adds up, but because of the webinar software, it just pops it all on the slide at the same time. So what I like to do is to give you some examples in terms of when we talk about what the typical American eat versus what I would consider a healthy survivor diet. We want to see the phytochemical meter going up as high as possible. And when you look at these tick marks, I've made, I think, probably 10 of them for the visual. It's about, I would say, a half a cup per little tick mark. And so the typical American is really only consuming 1.5, if they're lucky, cups of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. And what we know is that we really want people to get a lot more than that. Studies show that populations of people who consume more like 4 to 5 cups a day of fruits and vegetables tend to have the best health outcomes. All of the recommendations on consuming a plant-based diet are based on this. And so when you think about what the typical American eats, if they're eating just some sort of cereal, Frosted Flakes for breakfast, coffee, they have orange juice because it's too much work to eat an orange. They might eat peanut butter crackers that's not even made with peanut butter, real peanut butter, or, whole wheat crackers for lunch. Nabs is what we call them around here. They have a cheeseburger, fries, and Coke. Then, in the afternoon, they run to the vending machine, they get a candy bar, and then maybe for dinner they've actually cooked or picked something up: chicken, green beans, potatoes. I even put a salad on here, just give them a little bit of credit. And then they have ice cream, of course, for dessert, and they don't have just 1 scoop, it's 4 scoops, of course. So when you look at this day, really the only place that they're getting phytochemicals, which again, remember, they come from plant foods that aren't too processed. So if something is processed like white rice, they've really removed a lot of the phytochemicals. So their cheeseburger is probably on white bread, and their peanut butter crackers are on processed white crackers, and their frosted flakes aren't whole grains. And so they're all things that have basically had a lot of their phytochemicals processed out. And the only time that they had phytochemicals in their day was at dinner time. The green beans, we'll assume that they had a real potato and not some packaged kind of hash brown. Or potatoes in a box. That's what I like to kind of pick out. But that's really the only time they're getting it is at dinner. And in this example, they had orange juice, but they never even had a piece of fruit. So they really had a lot of opportunities in their day that they could have made some small changes that would help add up their phytochemical meter. So on my healthy survivor example, the things that I like to point out, something as simple as oatmeal with fruit and cinnamon. When you eat spices, that also herbs and spices are from plants. That gives you more phytochemicals. They have very strong flavor, which kind of tells you there's a lot of phytochemicals in just a little bit. We might have a green smoothie. So if you've never tried putting spinach in your smoothie, it can actually be delicious. I didn't believe it the first time, and then I tried it and I was amazed. And I like to do a smoothie demonstration. So if we were in a real live class, I would do a smoothie demonstration for you, but we would have spinach in our smoothie and it would taste delicious. Green tea itself, if you brew green tea, that helps to get you extra phytochemicals. Yogurt with fruit in it, sandwich with hummus and vegetables, or even simpler, you can do whole grain bread and peanut butter and banana. And that's a really simple, affordable sandwich that's also really healthy. You might have minestrone soup with your sandwich and a side of fruit. Really easy kind of things. For a snack, instead of going to the vending machine for a candy bar, you could get some trail mix, and you can even get the little, M&M pieces in the trail mix, and that's okay. But you're getting the plants from the nuts and the dried fruit. And then for dinner, I have on here a veggie pizza with a kale salad, which if you want to try a delicious salad, I make this for a demonstration for people too, and everyone always loves it. I have the recipe and cooking video on cancerdietitian.com/kale salad. It's so good. And then on the dessert here, I have chocolate avocado pudding. It is also really delicious. And so the cool thing is that you can have a dessert. Yes, it still tastes like dessert. It's delicious. It counts as dessert because it has, added sugars in it, but it is also made of something that's going to give you extra phytochemicals. So in this case, it's chocolate avocado pudding. The avocado is a plant. It's giving you phytochemicals and healthy fats. You can also make a pudding, which is on my website. There's a recipe for a chocolate tofu pudding. And in that case, you're getting extra protein in your dessert. The tofu comes from soy, and so it's going to give you extra phytochemicals from the soy plants. So anytime that you can kind of just make that little tweak or try out a new recipe that's going to add more phytochemicals to your day, it makes a difference. Because when you look at this slide, you can see how many phytochemicals build up on the healthy survivor diet versus the typical American. And what I like to say is that it's not so much that the typical American is consuming too much junk, even though, we know they are, but I think the bigger problem for the typical American is how much they're missing out on when they're not consuming all those plant foods. So you can see the gap here when you compare those meters. You see that the typical American just isn't filling up their meter. And when you have that gap day after day, after week, after month, after year, after decade, it starts to have an impact on your health and well-being. Now, if it's just a season of time, say childhood where somebody's a picky eater, or during treatment when really all you can get down are milkshakes, your body can make up for that. But at some point that season has to end and you need to start getting back on getting plenty of phytochemicals. So really looking through at every choice you make during your day when it comes to eating, trying to make that choice where you can add more phytochemicals into your day. So I like to draw this visual as well, which is the plate, to compare what the typical American eats. Sometimes it's not what they're eating, it's how much of what they're eating. And so they could maybe change the amounts of foods that they're eating and make a big difference in their health. So the typical American covers half their plate in meat. They eat protein like they're bodybuilders or marathon runners, and we know they're not. So they're eating twice as much protein as they need. And when you consume more protein than your body needs, it's going to store it as fat. They also fill most of their plate, the rest of their plate, with processed starchy food. So they're having white rice, they're having, potatoes from a box, they might be having French fries if they're going out to eat, or a lot of refined white pasta. And what we see is that in that processed starchy food, they're missing out. They're filling their plate up with it, and they're missing out on extra phytochemicals they could be getting if they chose whole grains or whole starchy vegetables. And then they have a teeny tiny little corner of vegetables with cheese sauce. It's not even real cheese. Velveeta and American cheese, not real cheese. And they cover their tiny little corner of vegetables. And so the problem is that the vegetables are the only thing on the typical American's plate that's going to give them phytochemicals, and that's just not going to add up over the day. So when we look at the Healthy Survivor plate, we really, and this is not just me making this up, the government's My Plate is the USDA's guide for nutritious eating. Plate looks like this. Harvard puts out a plate, looks very much like this. And so generally when we're recommending a plant-based diet, this is the tool that we like to use. So we want half of your plate covered in fruits and or vegetables. So if you think about breakfast, most people don't want vegetables, so they're going to have more fruit. Then we want a quarter of your plate covered in starch, so that we would want a whole grain or a starchy vegetable. So if you have potatoes, corn, or peas, that's going to count as your starch at your meal. Or you might have rice or pasta or bread, and you want to choose 100% whole grain. And then for your protein, for your body's needs, you'll get enough protein by having about 3 ounces. And so that can either be from an animal-based source, so some type of meat or dairy product, or you can get it from a plant-based source. And if you choose your protein to come from a plant-based source, then that's going to help add up your phytochemical meter. And so when we see that vegetarians tend to have better health outcomes, I always point out, I don't think it's because they don't eat meat, that it's not the absence of meat that's promoting their health. Even though, I don't know if you've heard about the documentary on Netflix called What the Health, and I wrote a review on my website of it. Or I linked you to other people's reviews mostly, but it's very much pro-vegan. And so in the documentary, they try to state that consuming meat products and dairy products is really bad for you. When it comes to vegetarian eating, we do see that vegetarians have better health outcomes, but I don't think it's the absence of meat. It's actually the presence of more plant foods. And so as we recommend a plant-based diet, you can include animal products in a plant-based diet, like meat and dairy products, but it needs to be in the right amount. And the typical person is overdoing it in America. So what we want is to have the right amounts of those. So, and I always encourage people, even if you are a meat eater, to have vegetarian meals on a regular basis, because there's so many more plants that you get when you consume vegetarian meals. So if you're looking for amounts, when you look at this plate and you see that half of it's covered in fruits and or vegetables at meals, I would recommend that is 1 cup. So if you were going to measure your fruits or vegetables, it would be a total of 1 cup or more of your fruits or non-starchy vegetables. And then if you do have a starchy vegetable, it would be about half a cup to 1 cup, depending on what you're having and how much you want. So 1/2 to 1 cup of your starchy food. A piece of bread, just for a frame of reference, counts as about 1/2 cup. A regular sliced piece of bread, not some sort of jumbo piece. And then the other piece is the protein. So 3 ounces if it's a meat product. If it's something like tofu or beans, like pinto beans or black-eyed peas or kidney beans, to get about 20 grams of protein, and 3 ounces of chicken, you get 23 grams of protein. In 1/2 cup of cooked soybeans, you get 15 grams of protein. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is 7 grams. 1/2 cup of cooked beans, like black-eyed peas or black beans or pinto beans, is 7 grams. So you probably want to have about a cup of those to kind of help make up the protein on your plate. So when you look at the Healthy Survivor plate, you can see, well, you would get phytochemicals half the plate covered in fruits and or vegetables, that's going to give you phytochemicals. Your whole grain or your starchy vegetable is going to give you phytochemicals. And then if you choose a plant-based protein, then your whole plate helps to add up your phytochemical meter. And even if you choose meat on your little corner of the plate for protein, it's going to be a small amount, and the phytochemicals are still adding up because the whole rest of your plate is filled with the plant foods. So for people who are having the challenges of treatment, and eating enough calories and protein is really kind of our focus, we know that you can optimize within the challenges you're facing. So you can add calories with healthy fats like avocados and nut butters. You can even make smoothies and then add extra. So if you're having to use Ensure or Boost or one of the nutrition supplement drinks, I've actually got a couple recipes on my YouTube channel where you can take that nutrition supplement drink. Well, you can add spinach and blueberries and some orange juice and really add some fresh phytochemicals to and make the drink actually taste a lot better. And remember, and I talked with my group this today about this as well, is that no single food or food substance can cause cancer. And no single food or food substance will cure cancer. So I think we need to sort of take a step back and realize that moderation is important. Yes, we want you to stay away from processed meats like bacon and sausage and those kinds of things. But, if you're only having those a few times a year, they're not going to have a significant impact on your health. It's the things that you do that are habits that have the biggest impact on your health. So I define something as a habit as if you do it 3 times a week or more. So do you drink sweet tea with dinner 3 times a week or more? If yes, then I would say that's not a good habit. We want to figure out how we can cut that back. Do you eat ice cream after dinner every night? Not a good habit. Is having ice cream on the weekend a bad thing? No, it's feeding your soul, right? So I use the 80-20 rule a lot of times as well. So 80% of the time you want to be choosing foods because they feed your soul and, because they feed your body. And 20% of the time you choose foods based because they're feeding your soul. And so if you think about that, that's 5 or 6, days a week that your phytochemical meter is really building up almost to the top. And 1 or 2 days a week where you're feeling like, this is just one of those days. Maybe you go to the family reunion or to some picnic and all they have is, hot dogs. I don't want you to feel like you can't participate in those things just because you're not going to get your phytochemicals in. So make a habit out of nourishing your body based on nutritious choices, and then allow yourself some room to have some of those other things in moderation. So as I like to say, keep calm and eat your vegetables. That really is the key, is that by getting these plant foods into your day, you will promote health. And we have lots and lots of data showing that it does help to reduce risk for cancer. It helps improve quality of life. It helps to enhance healing after treatment is over. And what I think sometimes we forget is that it's those daily choices, those things that when you sit down for breakfast, are you consuming fruit with your breakfast? And you can kind of pinpoint a few areas where you think you can improve and just focus on those and work on one at a time. So when I have clients come in, they want me to review their food record. What I do, the first thing that I do, and it's something that you can do for yourself, you write down everything you eat, say for a couple days or a week or something, get out a green highlighter and highlight every time you ate a fruit or a vegetable. And what you want to see is that you're going to be highlighting something in every meal. And if you start to see that you have a pattern of not consuming any fruits or vegetables in any one particular meal, then you can start focusing on those to really, make an impact by, let's just rehab breakfast or let's rehab our beverages. You don't have to do it all at once. So that's pretty much the Cancer Nutrition 101. The most important things that you need to know. Hopefully you pulled something out of that that's useful. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what we know for sure when it comes to nutrition and cancer and what's more of a myth. If you are not already connected to me online, I'd be happy to have you join me. I write cancerdietitian.com, so you can go on there and sign up for the email updates. You can email me if you have specific questions that you want me to answer. And you can also follow my cancer dietitian pages on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube. We offer this as part of our programs at Cancer Services. So I'm not selling anything, just good health. And I would love to connect with you online if you're not already on there. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the box. I'm probably going to go ahead and stop the recording now so that those people who are watching know that they're done, who are watching the recording. But if you would like to submit a question through the chat box, I'm happy to answer those, or you can email me directly. Thanks so much.